The afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the expansive concrete runways of Dulles International Airport. Jet engines roared in the distance as massive aircraft taxied and ascended into the sky over western Washington, D.C. Dr. Amelia Carter squinted, adjusting her designer sunglasses as she stepped out of her sleek black Lincoln sedan, which had come to a halt near the stairs leading to a small Gulfstream private jet. She had just concluded an intensive 3-day biomedical conference in the city and was preparing to return home. Her ivory suit was impeccably tailored, accentuating her well-proportioned figure and healthy, tanned complexion. Her dark hair was neatly tied back at the nape of her neck, and her face, lightly made up, still bore the marks of intelligence, sharpness, and a hint of fatigue from the demanding workday. Her leather briefcase and small designer handbag were placed neatly beside her feet. She smiled at the driver who had opened the door for her and began to walk toward the plane where the crew awaited, but her steps suddenly halted. Two men in dark blue airport security uniforms were approaching her from a small patrol car parked nearby. The first man, approximately 45 years old, white with a stocky build and a stern expression, had a badge on his chest that read, Donovan, Supervisor. The second man was younger, also white, with Snyder on his name tag, and appeared somewhat nervous and inexperienced. "Hold on, ma'am." Donovan's voice rang out, dry and authoritative, cutting through the relative silence of the private tarmac. He raised his hand, blocking Amelia's path. "Please stop so we can conduct an additional security check." Amelia froze, her delicate eyebrows furrowing in surprise and confusion. "Additional checks?" she inquired, her voice maintaining its professional calm. "I just passed through the crew and VIP security gate a few minutes ago. Everything was fine. Is there anything specific, officer?" She looked at the two men before her, seeking a reasonable explanation. "We have intelligence on a suspect matching your description who may be involved in smuggling," Donovan replied, his tone feigning seriousness, his eyes scanning Amelia from head to toe, lingering on her expensive attire and accessories. Snyder stood slightly behind Donovan, repeating mechanically, "Please cooperate with us. This is mandatory security procedure in the restricted area." Amelia was perplexed. She was a scientist. Her life revolved around laboratories and research papers. She had absolutely no connection to any illicit activities. There had to be some mistake. "I'm Dr. Amelia Carter with the National Institutes of Health. I'm on my way home from a conference," she tried to clarify. "We'll verify that," Donovan said, his voice unfriendly. "Identification, passport, and flight details required." Although she felt extremely uncomfortable and annoyed, knowing she was in a sensitive security area of the airport, Amelia still tried to cooperate. She opened her bag, retrieved her passport and the phone containing her electronic flight ticket information, and handed them to Donovan. He took the documents and flipped through them slowly, his eyes never leaving Amelia, scrutinizing her with a questioning look. Snyder stood beside him, also glancing at the documents, then back at Amelia, his expression somewhat more awkward. This sudden stop right on the runway, under the curious eyes of the flight crew waiting on the stairs, began to make Amelia feel that something was amiss. This did not resemble a standard security check. Dr. Amelia Carter was not only a brilliant scientist in the field of biomedical research, a leading expert in cancer genetics at the prestigious National Institutes of Health, but she was also a woman accustomed to working twice as hard to make her mark in a scientific world still dominated by men and implicit racial prejudices. She was intelligent, determined, and incredibly focused on her work. But there was another side to Amelia's life that few people knew about, a secret kept as close to the vest as possible for security reasons and its extremely sensitive nature. She was the wife of Jonathan Carter, the powerful man who served as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Their marriage was a quiet affair known only to family, a few close friends, and select top government officials. Amelia rarely appeared with her husband at public events or in the media. She preferred to live as normal a life as possible, focusing on her scientific career and avoiding the trouble and unnecessary attention that her husband's position could bring. Her occasional use of private jets or airport priority services was usually due to her work requirements, urgent international conferences, or sometimes for security reasons related to her husband's position, but she never flaunted it. The white suit she wore that day was the outfit she had used to present at the conference, demonstrating professionalism and respect for her profession. In contrast to Amelia's reserved and intellectual image stood Airport Security Officer Mike Donovan. He had worked at Dulles for more than 15 years, rising to the position of runway and VIP gate supervisor. But he harbored resentment, feeling underappreciated and overlooked for promotions. He was envious of wealthy passengers, those who flew private planes and enjoyed privileged services while he could only watch. Racial prejudice was deeply ingrained in his thinking, especially when he saw successful, wealthy black individuals. To him, they were lucky freeloaders or had achieved their status through illegitimate means. He liked to use his limited supervisory power to make things difficult, to bully passengers he did not like, especially when they seemed weak or alone. There had been informal complaints about his attitude, but thanks to clever cover-ups and possibly the protection of some of his superiors, he remained in his position. Security guard Rick Snyder was different. He had only been on the job a few years, was relatively inexperienced, and lacked the confidence to handle complex situations. He was somewhat intimidated by Donovan, his immediate supervisor, and often followed orders without questioning them, even when he sensed something was wrong. He may not have harbored the same deep-seated racial prejudice as Donovan, but his indecisiveness and desire to please his superiors made him an easy accomplice in wrongdoing. That afternoon, Donovan received an internal radio message about a need for special attention to a well-dressed black woman who might be involved in the illegal transportation of gems or foreign currency via private air. The information was vague, with no specific name or exact flight number, and could have been a rumor or unverified low-level intelligence. But for Donovan, it was the perfect excuse. When he saw Dr. Amelia Carter step out of the car in a striking white suit and board a private jet, all his preconceptions were aroused. This must be her, he thought. A young, beautiful, wealthy black woman flying in a private jet. To Donovan, she epitomized the problematic individual. He decided to stop her and investigate, both to satisfy his curiosity and jealousy and to demonstrate his power. He ordered Snyder to accompany him. However, upon examining Amelia's passport and documents, Donovan quickly realized the grave mistake. Dr. Amelia Carter, a scientist at NIH, had a permanent address in an upscale neighborhood in McLean, Virginia. The flight information was entirely legitimate and pre-booked. None of it matched the vague intelligence he had received. His expression changed slightly. Snyder, standing next to him, also noticed the discrepancy. He nudged Donovan's arm and whispered, "Boss, it doesn't seem like her. The name and profession are completely different." He looked worried, wanting to quickly end the matter and let Amelia go. The mistake was evident. According to protocol, they were to return the documents, apologize, and allow Dr. Carter to proceed. But in Mike Donovan's mind, another plan, much darker and more reckless, began to take shape. Instead of admitting the mistake and correcting it, Donovan's eyes flashed with greed as he glanced at Amelia's expensive outfit, the elegant watch on her wrist, and the private jet awaiting her. He saw this not as an unfortunate error, but as a golden opportunity to exploit. A renowned scientist, obviously affluent, would likely prefer to avoid trouble or delays at an airport, especially in a sensitive area like this runway.